In Path of Exile 2 Dawn of the Hunt there's a warrior build that melts mobs, delete bosses and still don't need any gear. Slam once and screen dies, that's it. Hail and matches skins and queens, it's me the King, and in this video I'll show you the skill setup, the tips to play it smooth and right combos you can abuse to clear screens with ease, the passive tree that gives real power against bosses, and the gear you can slap on right of the campaign to make it even more powerful. And we will end with a boss fight to see how it can perform against bosses. While yeah, it's kinda caveman style, actually there's a lot of skills and stuff we need to press. Don't worry, it will be easier, because in the next part I will explain how to use this correctly, but for now let's check out our skills and support gems of course. So, Mace Strike is our base ability when we don't want to use skills, when we want to just inflict a little bit of damage and finish down opponents. We want to make it really hit hard, so we're using close combat for more attack damage when enemies is close to us, execute to deal even more damage when enemies are low on life, and they will be low on life most of the time with this build. Since enemies will be ignited from all other our skills, we can do even more damage as fire damage against ignited enemies with Immolate and Volcanic Eruption. That's a new support gem, I'm just having fun with it. Whenever we hit an ignited enemies, it will erupt volcano and deal some damage. That's a cool one. Next up, if you followed my leveling build, that's actually what I did. I finished campaign just with leveling build, so it works nicely. You already know the base combination to clear screens. Basically we need to prime enemies for stun and use Bone Shatter. But honestly, with a good mace you don't even need this in campaign. I just used Rolling Slam and that's it, because now we're in the maps and there's a lot more monsters and we need a way to clear screens. So Bone Shatter will be again the answer to it. Whenever we hit enemy who is primed for stun, he will be heavy stunned, and also it will release a Shockwave. Shockwave deals a lot of attack damage, like 500% of attack damage at this level 14 skill. So that's our main clearing ability. And what we're using over here, we're using Fire Infusion to deal extra damage as fire damage. We basically Molten Warrior, we're using fire damage most of the time. Impact Shockwave to cause aftershock whenever we heavy stun an enemy, and we always heavy stun enemy, and it's basically another area of effect damage source. And Magnified Effect to increase area of effect of this Bone Shatter, so we can clear wall screens. But to make this work we need to prime enemies for stun. How to do it constantly without any problems? That's another skill, Lip Slam. We will use Lip Slam for this. Lip Slam causes small stun build up, we're basically jumping upwards and dropping on enemy heads. The problem, small enemies can reach 100% stun build up and be heavy stunned even with one Lip Slam. We don't want to cause it, so we're using Brink. Brink is insane. It just gives us ability to never reach 100% stun build up with supported skill. Well, at the same time we will have more damage to heavy stunned enemies. That's good because we can heavy stun boss, jump on him, but we get another combinations against bosses. But still it's sometimes useful against elites when you don't want to use long casting skills. The next one is Overpower to cause more stun build up. I guess self-explanatory. We want stun build up and do it as fast as possible. So against elite enemies, that's the help we can get. And we want to jump fast because wind up time is very long. So Martial Tempo is the next support gem we're using to do it faster. Next up, to clear screens even more, we will use Infernal Cry. It will basically create War Cry whenever we use it. It will empower our next melee attacks, and empowered attacks will gain extra 25% of damage as fire damage based on power of enemies in range, up to 100%. So basically we need to cast it in melee range, so we take more enemies or near the powerful enemies against bosses for example, and we will have nice and powerful attack. To empower attacks even more, we will use Premeditation to deal 15% more damage with empowered skills. Tireless, it will give us chance to not consume our empowerment, so we can empower even like more than 2 attacks, and with nice supportive passive skills here we can empower up to like 4 attacks or even more. And to make attack even more powerful we will use Raging Cry. Whenever we rage, whenever we cry, Infernal Cry of course, not normal cry, we will gain rage, therefore we will increase power of our next attack even more. Now, to move faster in maps we will use Shield Charge with Stomping Ground to create shockwaves and deal some damage to low HP enemies, to ignite them sometime, and we will reduce cooldown with Ingenuity. Basically it's traveling skill just to move faster. Our buffs, to clear screens even faster we will use Herald of Ash to create explosions when we overkill enemies, and I'm using Cannibalism over here. It will increase our spirit reservation, but we will have life recovery on kill. It's nice when we're clearing enemies on maps, we will lose life all the time, but we will instantly replenish it with the Herald. Then I want Herald to hit with more power, so I'm using Fire Mastery on it, and Deadly Herald to deal more damage with Heralds. That's it basically, another screen clearing attribute for us. Another buff we're using is of Overwhelming Presence. Enemies will have reduced stun threshold, ailment threshold, basically everything we need. We need to stun them and inflict Ignite. And final pieces of the puzzle is our boss destruction tools. While leveling, I was using Perfect Strike only, and it's insanely cool and fun to use ability. We're using Window of Opportunity on this, we're using Unbreakable. Window of Opportunity will increase damage if we hit perfect timing. Unbreakable will give us ability to evade stuns whenever we want to cast this spell on elites maybe. And Primal Ornament for more weapon elemental damage. So that's like powerful setup to make some perfect strikes. But also we're using Hammer of Gods. It takes a lot more time to charge it up, so it can't be used as only tool against bosses, at least in my opinion. And to empower it to become a really powerful Hammer of Gods, we're using Fist of War to ancestrally boost this attack, and it will create Aftershock, basically double attack, concentrated effect for more area damage, and Reverberate to increase chance to cause aftershocks. Basically we have ability to use this attack multiple times if we're lucky. Now, you know the skills we're using, but how to use them, it's really important to understand too. Let's just jump straight into the maps, and you'll be leaping, slamming, yelling all the time, but how to make it actually feel good and play nicely. So it feels actually insanely good. We just leap slam at enemy, he is primed for stun, and we hit him with Bone Shatter. That's the strategy for mapping basically. Jump, Bone Shatter, run, jump, Bone Shatter. Oh my god, I missed. So let's prime him for stun again and finish them off. And basically continue doing this all the way through the map. We replenish our health whenever we destroy enemies. We basically jump on them and we destroy them. Travel with your shield, prime, stun, prime. Against elites we can Warcry, we can do a perfect strike if you wish to. Or you can just Bone Shatter them or finish them with maces. Mace strike works like magic too. You don't even need to Bone Shatter all the time, but Bone Shattering feels really great. Still, basic attacks even with mace will work if you just wish to go full Unga Bunga style without like any problems. Or if enemies got some buffs, so you need just to finish them off. For example, elites can be like finished with just basic attacks. That's what I'm using and doing mostly. Meteoric Shrine is like glory present for us, because now our fire damage is even higher. We're basically jumping and doing stuff pretty easily. If you're playing harder maps that you can survive, the full combination will look like this. So it will be jump, so enemies is nearby, then it will be Warcry, so we empower our attacks, and then Bone Shatter. Same can be done and applied to elite enemies, because you will get more power and power against elites. So basically jump, Warcry, and Bone Shatter. It will be dependent basically on what enemies you are fighting right now. So easy enemies can be done just with basic hits, so you're not wasting your mana. Actually we don't have mana, but more on that in passive skill 3 part of the video. If you're not finishing enemies, they are primed for stun, just basic combo. But if we're facing some strong guys, then we're definitely doing jump, we're doing Warcry, and then we're empowering our insane screen clearing ability. And we actually can do 2 of them if there's some enemies is left behind. It's easy to play, it's super fun, and you may notice I don't have any mana. You know why? Because we got already so much buttons, and I decided to remove mana potions from the build basically. It feels a lot better when we can press on a lot of buttons, but honestly we just need 2 to clear the screen. Other buttons is just for like quality of life. You don't need shield charge if you don't wish to. Technically you don't need it, but again it's a lot better to be able to jump, shield charge, jump again, prime for stun, destroy them, clear the screen, jump, Warcry, and finish him with Hammer of the Gods, just like that. So some reason he survived, and I know the reason. Goodbye, bro. The reason is our passive skill 3, of course, and as you can see we got hammer right now in one hand, and this makes it requiring 330 strength to wield. Actually it will go up to 400 strength later on, and that's why my passive skill tree looks like this with a lot of stats right now. So only right now I'm starting to invest in the damaging nodes actually to improve power of this build. So strength stacking is cool, but let's actually discuss and see what you can do to amplify your damage insanely insane in no time. There's a planner of this build in pinned comment, so you can check it basically and follow this, but it's really nice to understand why we're picking some nodes. So for example, we can have this extra damage against heavy stunned enemies. I used this in the campaign, but right now we're switching into the full fire dude basically. Still, to survive monsters, especially in early maps, I like to pick this increased armor and some life regeneration per second, and also 10 strength, because I need this strength right now. Then we increase in area of effect for attacks, and this is basically our ability to clear everything fast. So to clear everything fast, we just need this area of attacks. And as you can see, we got a bunch of different weapon and sets, but right now I'm not using them a lot. What actually is happening is I already pre-planned this for next patch. I hope they will drop this ability to use one weapon set, I mean like one weapon in two different weapon sets, because right now you can actually utilize stuff that I will explain you, and you can use this by just switching weapon into slot number 2 to use weapon slot number 2, but I'm using only one weapon set because I hate switching my skills. Every time we switch weapon set, basically our main skill, main attacking skill swaps at the same time. So main build idea is what you need to understand when you're trying to replicate and do this warrior. Main build idea is that we need to have two different ways in two different scenarios. Since warrior is insanely slow, we want to be like fast all the time, and therefore blood rush with increased skill speed is what we want. At the same time, we want this increased area of damage and stun build up all the time on all sets basically. But when clearing maps, you actually want to have some protection. So something like this shield, for example. We want block chance, and we want to go straight to increase damage per chance of block. We jump into the packs of monsters, therefore we will be attacked a lot, and our only protection is our shield and our armor, so we need this protection, and also it will increase our damage. But against bosses, we don't need this extra like damage per chance of block. We don't even need this like extra area of effects from some nodes. We just need a raw power. So for example, for maps, we're going with this block chance shield part over here. We're going for increased area of effect if we killed recently, increased area of effect for attacks. We're basically running fast, we're killing fast, and our area will grow and we will clear screens a lot more faster. We also can get this block chances over here to increase our defenses from our shield, increase block chances, as well as life recovery whenever we block. So that's like powerful part for maps. We just need this survival. For maps, we definitely can go to this right part and get some like area of effect for attacks, increased cooldown recovery rate, so we can use our movement abilities a lot faster. We can get this attack speed over here again to attack faster and do things faster. But for bosses, we don't need this stuff. For bosses, we need raw power. Therefore, for bosses, we can go for all fire nodes that you can find. Basically, for bosses, we're doing fire damage, and we want to have increased chance to ignite, increased damage with hits against burning enemies, increased magnitude of ailments we inflict. Warcraft will empower additional attacks and deal extra additional damage. And by the way, I linked empower Warcry basically to weapon slot number 2 only, so even in maps I can use it as slot number 2 and empower 2 attacks. But also against bosses, we definitely want to increase damage with hits against ignited enemies and stuff like that. So basically that's the key, is to inflict a lot of damage to bosses, especially by using Avatar of Fire. We will have 75% of damage converted to fire damage and deal no fire damage. So we're dealing loads of damage, it's all fire damage, and we need to increase magnitudes of our damage to ignited enemies basic. That's kind of main ideas, and here's the main big notes. Avatar of Fire converted to fire damage, I already told you. Giant Blood, we can wield two-handed maces in one hand, but it will triple attribute requirements. Still, it's worth it. It's just cheat code to leave the campaign, go to maps, survive the maps with nice armor and shield, and at the same time destroy monsters with your big and powerful two-handed weapon in one hand. And also I took this because, you know, I don't have slots for mana flasks, and it feels nice. Blood magic will convert skill costs to basically life costs, and you have no mana. You can ignore movement ability, for example, and don't use blood magic, but I definitely suggest you to try this. For our awesome Ascendancy, we're going with Smith of Kitava. Yeah, and that's another beautiful part of us that will give us survival, and that's why this build, and actually like this style, is insanely good for your first character. If you're just starting out Path of Exile, it feels so good. The hardest part in Path of Exile for especially beginners to get your resistances right on your gear, and without resistances capped, you won't be able to run maps basically. You will be destroyed in a few seconds most of the time. It will be very hard for you. But with Smiths of Kitava, we get in fire resistance and cold stroke. Walker. Fire resistance will also grant resistance to cold and lightning at 50% of its value. So basically we're just stacking loads of fire resistance and it will cover cold and lightning. And at the same time we're getting modifiers to maximum fire resistance will grant maximum cold and lightning resistance. That's the big one, because I took on the passive tree parts over here to get +5 to all elemental resistances, but most importantly +1 to maximum fire for each 40% uncapped fire. Again, we like maxing on fire resistance, and for each fire resistance that we get per 40 uncapped fire resistance, we're getting also cold and lightning. And just after leaving campaign, I'm already at 80 and 81% over here. Maximum is 90, by the way. Yeah, it's crazy how much resistance we have with this build. And we can bump up it even more with other passive nodes, and that's kind of the key for us. So now let's talk about gear actually. What gear you want? Again, you want big and powerful mace. Your mace should have only physical damage and no critical damage. Because I forgot to mention, actually we got Resolute Technique over here. Your hits can't be evaded, but never deal critical hits. That's the big one, because with maces you will miss a lot. Feels pretty bad when you miss with something like Hammer of the God or perfectly timed perfect strike. So you just need increased physical damage, added physical damage, and increased elemental damage with attacks. That's three main stats that you want on your mace on top, prefixes. And for suffixes, look for attack speed and probably just stats, like strength will work, but it doesn't matter too much. Top part is more important. Next up, for rings, just go with basic ruby rings that will give you fire resistance. If you got ruby rings that gives you double fire resistance, that's the perfect solution for us. And increased fire damage to attacks will work. It will multiply our damage a lot. So my rings are not perfect, but it works. It just works because we got a lot of fire resistance on them and mostly like 2 rings covering everything. So for armor, just use best armor you can find. With a lot of armor, the health is also nice. You want maximum health as high as possible. Up to like 3.5, 4k will be ideal for running tier 15 pretty easily without any effort. On amulet you can look for, again, fire resistances and for level of melee skills. That's actually another part of our hammer. Level 2 melee skills is very powerful stuff. For helmet, just look again for maximum life, increased armor, that's it, fire resistance on all gear. For belt, you can use good utility belt with fire resistance again, or you can find belt that gives you maximum fire resistance bonus. That's a legendary belt, there's double armor bonus on it, so it's a really powerful one. For boots, I just like to use something with nice movement speed. I got this from campaign, maximum life, fire resistance, movement speed, everything we need. So this legendary boots will work. It's not the best boots you can find, but it's enough. It will deal damage to enemies based on our maximum life. So again, it's nice to finish down some small enemies behind you when you just rushing with your shield. It's very good boots. For gloves, again, look for attack speed, added fire damage to attacks, and that's it. So now you know how this build clears maps, but let's find out how he can stay against bosses, our playstyle against bosses, and most importantly, how it looks against bosses right after the campaign. That's exactly the footage I like to include in these videos. You know why? Because that's what most of you will experience. You will try to copy build and it won't hit a lot. Maybe not as you see on the screen if I will show you the build that's running tier 15s right now, and it's a lot more powerful of course. But right now, that's what you may expect after leaving campaign and how your fights will look like. So let's just go straight to the boss. And here is the boss time. Oh, I like this one. So we're jumping. Missed. That's the boss fight. We will jump on each other. He is frying right now. We can empower a few attacks. Basically, we need to prime him for stun. Then stun him finally. Do War Cry and Hammer of the Gods. That's the basic strategy. And then empowered Perfect Strike. That's a full combo. If you land it correctly, that's half of HP. Oh my goodness, that's so crazy. We're just jumping on each other. So against bosses, normal attacks is pretty good to build up stun, and we can prime him for stun pretty easy, pretty fast, while he is on fire. Warcry, Hammer of the Gods, and Perfect Strike. That's the full combination. It was not perfect. Let's wait until he will jump down. And Perfect Strike is just too good. So he is done. That's our basic bossing experience. Don't forget to drop a like and comment for this video if you want to see final super endgame pinnacle version of this build, and I will make it sooner than later. I hope you enjoyed the video and you will have blast playing this Molten Warrior. Make sure to check other videos on the screen right now if you like different builds, maybe some lightning or ice, and see you in the next videos.